right, thank you all for joining us for the Creating Short Lecture Videos workshop. Joining us today is Dr. Ted Weisman, Embedded Instructional Technologist in Online Education. He's going to discuss how to better understand what makes a great short lecture video and ways to include valuable information in a short time span. And I will go ahead and hand it over to him to get us started.
All right, welcome. Hello, everybody. My name is Ted Weisman. I am, as was said, I'm an embedded instructional technologist, which essentially is just a fancy way of saying I help people teach online. I also am a part-time instructor, so I do use these strategies in classes. I teach a second-year seminar for the College of Education, as well as lesson planning, secondary lesson planning for the College of Education. So I not only use some of these strategies, but also help faculty do stuff in this space. So with that being said, this is kind of the summary of what we're talking about here. As graduate assistants, you might be called on to do a variety of things that you ultimately could use a video for. And that's really what this is about. Not only lecture videos, but other things as well. The reason why I have those two icons at the bottom is because we're really going to focus primarily on Panopto and Web Campus, because those are the tools that are supported by OIT. It's really important to recognize that when you are using certain platforms, OIT has support for you. And so our systems that we use are Canvas, WebEx is our web conferencing tool, and Panopto is our video recording software. So you use those when you have problems, you get help from OIT. You use other tools, which you can do. You can use other things to record your videos and upload your videos and do things like that, but you won't have as robust support. So I recommend using Panopto to do your recording, but if you use it in other ways, we'll talk about it, but really just kind of that's why I have those icons there. So with that, what are we going to cover? Why use video? What's the point of it? How to prepare and tips from the experts. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and drop in the chat a link to the presentation, just because this way, and it should be available for everybody, because there are links in there that you can access. So this way you can take a look at those links and you can use them, and there's links throughout the presentation that are available. So first of all, let's talk about why use videos in an online course. So the first thing is UDL, Universal Design for Learning. Ultimately, it's good practice. There's a nice article that talks about all the different reasons behind using a video, but what it really does is, more than anything, it makes you more engaging. It takes whatever you're doing in text or whatever you might be wanting to present. By adding a video in, it brings your content to life. It inserts you into your course, especially if you are teaching online and you're not meeting with students. They get to see a face, they get to put a name with the face. You can present material directly. It is just good practice. It's part of differentiation. And so it's just good for you. The next thing is student engagement. And really talking to this, there's a nice article as well that talks about how long a video should be. There is a sweet spot depending on where you look at it, or depending on where what you read. Some people say 3 minutes, some people say 5 to 6 minutes, some people say 12 minutes. More importantly, it's definitely under 20 minutes. Because that's really the key, is that as you start, the more you're recording, the more time you have to create space between the students and their content, and you really want to stay engaged. So just think about yourself in your own life and how you consume videos. You really want to keep it short and sweet and to the point. So I would argue that probably between the 5 to 12 minute is a good space, but if you can do it in under 5, even better. But this gives you kind of some resources and talks a little bit about the research. So going into that, what does that actually mean when you have to create a video? Because there's a lot that goes into it. And that is kind of what I really want to talk about, is when we talk about a video, where do we start? We start with the technology. What are you actually using to record your technology or record? Well, that's redundant. Record your video. First of all, you got to think about bandwidth. So one of the things, if you notice frequently when you're doing online content, you have interruptions. You might have to turn off your video. You might have to, there's certain capacity issues depending on what your outages are. So these are things to think about when you get started. Your bandwidth, your quality hardware. So if you didn't know, you can go to Lead Library and you can check out equipment to record videos. And they have that available to you at Lead Library. Make sure you have a good quality webcam or camera, a microphone. Office of Online Education, we have a studio that you can use if you're recording videos, that type of thing. We have a whole video setup. So just be aware of that you're kind of prepared in that regard. The next thing are two very important things about technology. One is trimming, and that is that do not get caught up in, you can always cut your video and edit your video. So be aware of that as you're kind of planning and doing things like that. Editing is huge, and it is something that you can do. The other part is captioning. I'll talk a little bit more about this in accessibility, but Panopto has automatic speech recognition and a caption editor. So that is why we also recommend using Panopto, is that you want to make sure that you have captions or you have text available. So these are things to think about as you're getting ready to record your video. The next thing you want to do is using Panopto. So when you use Panopto, there is, and I'm going to actually exit out of my presentation right now because I'm going to show you what it looks like. So when you go to your videos, if you go to Panopto recordings and you go into, when you open up your Panopto recordings, if you're in your Canvas course, you'll have Panopto. You click on create and you have different options. For short videos, we suggest using Panopto Capture, which is right here. You can also use the application, which is right here as well, or you can upload media. So like I said, if you recorded a video using Google or something else, or you recorded on another program, you want to be able to upload it to Panopto. And then when you click on Panopto Capture, this is what pops up. And it's a very user-friendly, very sleek interface. You can share your screen, you can share your window, you can share tabs. It's just a great thing. So we highly suggest using Panopto Capture, especially for short videos. It's just a great resource. So going back to that. Now, it has limited functionality, but it's good for quick start videos. It's good for those short videos. But you can also download the Panopto software, which allows you to do more in terms of the starting and stopping. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to resume my presentation. So the next thing is using Canvas and Panopto. So one thing to think about is, but when you're getting started, you really want to think about your distractions. So what does that mean? Putting your phone off to the side, disabling pop-ups, making sure everything is clear on your desktop, closing doors and windows, barking dogs, turn off alarms, use a plain background. These are all things that you can do. There's a link here to some Panopto best practices that you can use as well. But ultimately, you want to prepare yourself for recording the video. Now, I just showed you how to access the Panopto in your Canvas course. If for some reason you didn't have it, you would go into settings right here at the bottom, and then, oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong thing. What you would do is in settings, there would be a navigation panel right here. And you would then add it to your course and it would show up in the global navigation on the left. If you have any, there's a variety. When on this previous page that I had, there's links to a bunch of, right here, this lecture capture. This has all the things you need to get started. So I just want to make sure that you have that. The next thing, so was talking about distractions using the Panopto recordings. I already showed you the create button. The next thing also to think about is whether or not you're doing this in classroom. So if you're in classroom, you want to make sure that you have your setup already done. You have it already prepared. They have an automated lecture capture procedure. You want to check the camera that's in there. And then also one of the things to think about, and we haven't really even gotten into the content yet. This is all in preparation, right? So is think about what are you actually recording? One of the things we also suggest is using a document camera instead of a whiteboard. It shows up much better and is much more legible and easier to see. So you want to use that as well. But here are some links for you to access a variety of resources in terms of your in-class setup. So now let's get into the content. So the way that I decided to do this was I reached out to a couple of people and I talked to a videographer. And so here is a list of tips from the videographer. So if you were to go to the Office of Online Education and you were going to actually record videos for a class, these are things that they suggest. And some of the best things, most important, I'll kind of highlight. Number one is tell the story as simply as possible. Okay? Be clear, be direct, go to the point, right? The second one, during the video shoot, plant your feet or bottom if you're sitting down in one place. Try not to move around. So you want to make sure that you're focused, the students are focusing on you. Smile, have fun. The next thing, and these are probably what I would say would be the two most important things, prepare a script of everything that you want to say. Write it out ahead of time. Even if it's a 2-minute video, we do scripts for them. And that means write it out so you have something that you're talking from. We have a teleprompter in our office, but you can also have software that you could download and use that as well. And then the second thing is practice. Go through and make sure that you have checked ahead and seen how it's going to go. Are there places that you need to pause? Do you want to add a graphic? Do you want to highlight your presentation? Are you going to be on camera? Are you going to be off camera? Like you might want to kind of mess around a little bit and see what you want to do. So that's kind of from the videographer. Be engaging, be direct, be to the point, and try to have fun. From an instructional designer. So these are people who help with designing courses and help with really getting you where you need to be in terms of content. Start with objectives. Start with what you want to have in there. 2 to 3 minutes to address each subtopic. So this needs to be like an elevator type speech. Now, here's another thing that you need to remember. That is that you don't need to put everything in the video. Just like in this presentation, I have a lot of links, right? I have a lot of things that you can access that you can go through on your own time. I'm doing really high level. I'm really kind of getting to the point, and then you can spend time going through and really diving deep into other things. Remember, that's what you can do with your students, okay? Or whoever you're presenting to. Get to the nitty quickly. You can always put stuff in a page, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Focus on pain points. Focus on pain points. What do you want them to get to? What do you want them to address? Use text, images, podcast, instructional materials. One instructional designer said about 5 to 6 minutes max. You can embed it into the page. I'll show you how to do that in this. They talk about, once again, typing out your material, write out a transcript, and be prepared. And then whatever you want to show in a process, use an image for, add images, add other things to it. And so with that, so things to remember, and then I'm going to show a couple other things as well. Preparation is essential. So when you're doing these short videos, you want to make sure you have all of your resources together. You have everything you need. You're ready to go once you hit record. And I would even suggest if you make a mistake, just pause and then you can come back and cut it out later because Panopto is that easy to edit. Content matters. If you are showing something like you're doing a math equation, or you're showing a process, or you're doing something, a timeline, use it, show it. Don't be scared to show those things, but you want to make sure that the resolution is up to snuff. You want to make sure that you're showing exactly what you need. This is why you plan ahead of time, but your content does matter in what you're delivering. Just like I gave you all the presentation, this way I'm not clicking on all those links. You have the opportunity to do it. Ask yourself, why am I making this video? Is this something that needs to be, conversely, is this something that's better delivered in a presentation in a PowerPoint? Can I just write a quick text? What is the reason why I'm actually putting this in video form? And one of the things that you want to really focus on is that this adds an instructor presence to your course. It makes you an actual human being, so that students can put a name with a face and they know someone that they're talking to. Accessibility. If you click on this and you can scroll down, this is a direct link to the accessibility page and digital tips. And it talks about captioning. It talks about downloading, WebEx transcripts and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're doing stuff that's accessible for your students when you're recording a video. Try again. The great thing about a video is that you can make mistakes and you can do it over again. You don't need to get it right the first time. That is the beauty of recording a video. So especially, and that is kind of leads us to the idea of why you want a short video. Because guess what? It really stinks if you're trying to re-record a 30-minute video or a 60-minute video. That is a lot. That is a lot of content, and it's a lot for people to digest. And ultimately, that's not how we consume content these days. So less is more. More importantly, the quicker, I tend to lean into the idea that you can have more short videos than one long video. And be direct, be to the point. That is the point of the video. We know that we have shorter attention spans and people have a lot of things that are vying for their attention. So be one of the things that they can get in, get out, get what they need, and they feel like their time was well spent. So my name is Ted Weisman. Here's my email address and here is my contact information. What I wanted to do is also, I'm going to put in the chat, there's a couple of links I kind of wanted to share. One is right here. This is how to add automated, so right here, I'll add this to the chat. This is how you add the automatic speech recognition captions into a video. And then also how to download a recording transcript for WebEx. And I'll put that in the chat as well. And then the last thing that I want to show, and then I'll open it up to questions, because in keeping with the theme, we're keeping this short and sweet, right? We're not going to go too long, is what I did in my own, I made a test video, right? And I'm going to show you real quick. So this test video is something that I recorded earlier today. It's 5 seconds. But what I wanted to show, and the reason why I'm showing this, is you can make an announcement. Now, it doesn't necessarily caption it, but I added the text right here so that people have the ability to see text. So if you wanted to record a video in an announcement or do something like that, you can add the text right here. But it's just short and sweet. Here you go.
Hello, this is a test. Let's see how it works. Awesome.
All right. And if you don't know how to add a video of something like that, you go into the edit button right here in Canvas. Okay. It'll open up a page. This right here is your rich text editor. Right here on this one, you would do upload, record media. Here you can upload a video directly, but here you record. And right here, you just hit start recording and bam, there you go. You're recording a message as an announcement. And then you can add the text after the fact, just like I did, so that you have that text available to you. So with that, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'll open it up to questions. Anything that anybody has to ask.
Hi, Ted.
Hello.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this information. I'm curious as to what's the sweet spot? You said it's better to have multiple short videos rather than one long video. Is there a sweet spot? Is there something we should, like a best practices we should keep in mind?
I would say like that 5 to 7 minute range is really good, is a good range. Now, that being said, you can have longer videos if you have content that dictates it. I'm not going to sit here and say you might have more that you want to show or more that you might want to display, but you can also break it up into chunks. But I would say that 5 to 7 minute range is a really good space to shoot for. You can go a little bit longer. You can definitely go less. But once again, you got to go back to that idea of asking, why am I making this video? So why do I have it? Why is this content important? Why am I putting this in here? And then you can have, and then I think that will dictate a lot of it. But you can also always, yeah, I would say stick in that 5 to 7 minute range. I think that's a good place to be. I just know that we have a lot of long videos and we definitely don't get good feedback from students. And I think you as a student would probably have a lot to say as well. No one really wants to like sit here for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. Like that's just a long time. And no one wants to talk that long either. So that's another part about it. Anybody else?
Well, I had one that was chatted to me.
Sure.
Do you have any tips that have personally helped you in terms of keeping the video accessible?
Panopto. Panopto is my best friend. To be completely honest with you, Panopto's auto-generated captions are very good. And their editing, the way that you edit within Panopto it's very user-friendly. So I would say just using Panopto, becoming familiar with Panopto, practicing recording videos in Panopto. I mean, I've done it just kind of testing and going through. But that way, you can it's pretty good with the auto generated captions, so that's really helpful. That's number one. Number two is having a script. So that way I can even have that script and I can put that as a link directly in the page. So I can have that as well. That's another thing that I can do. And then also just if you're using images, I put the images as well as with alt text and stuff like that in the page. So anything that I referenced in the video, I put as like a resource in the page, and then I make that accessible. So they have that as well. So it's just kind of doing those things, like just kind of dotting my I's and crossing my T's when it comes to accessibility. And once again, if you keep it short, you're not really worried about a lot of captions. So that's another thing. That's kind of, I mean, maybe that's just another reason why you want to keep it short.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I like how you went with the theme, Ted, and kept it short and sweet.
Yes, absolutely. I was thinking, you know what, I can make this really involved and do a lot, but really what it comes down to is that you want to kind of get to the point, you want to say what you want to say, you want to have your resources available, you want to be clear, you want to be deliberate. It's just like any lesson that you're teaching, this is just best practice. And then I will, if you have, the other thing that I will say is OIT is a great resource. If they will meet with you one-on-one and help you with your videos or help you with editing or doing stuff through that. And that's why we're very fortunate to have Panopto. I will say that, like, we're not sitting here taking our YouTube videos and trying to upload that. If you record something in Google, you can upload it through Panopto. It'll generate the captions. It'll do stuff. So we're very fortunate to have that software. And if you have issues with those videos, then you have a resource in OIT or through me or one of the EITs. So we're very fortunate to have a software that is as robust as it is. So use it. And so I think, if we really wanted to talk about content, just think about what's relevant to you as a student and what really works for you as a student and how do you consume your material. And I'm pretty sure that most of you would be like, yeah, if I could have like a 4 or 5 minute video that really gets to the point, that would be awesome. And one thing I'll just add is that I showed very briefly the announcements. It is a great way of doing like a recap of a lesson. So if you're delivering content, if you're having more drawn out things, like you have them doing long readings, you have a long assignment, you have other things that you have going on, you're working on a project, you can record a short video, put in the text, put in an announcement, and really summarize things. And I find that students really respond to that it makes things more personable. And anytime you can like show up in your class as a human being, I'm a fan of. So that's kind of, especially online classes. So that's another thing that I would kind of throw out there. It doesn't have to just be like lecture content.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, before we end today's session, we'd like to thank our presenter again for sharing their time and expertise with us today, and to thank all of our participants as well for joining us today. But before y'all log off, please take a few minutes to fill out the workshop feedback survey that I am dropping in the chat. There you go. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and thank y'all again so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your time. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'll put my email in the chat as well. It's at the end of the presentation. But if you need anything in regards of online teaching or stuff like that, best practices, my PhD is in teacher education. So I also do a lot of that as well. So this is what I do. So please feel free to reach out and I'm happy to help.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.